Hey, cool friends, it's me, Adrian, or Aiden. Either way, I am still your host, and you are still listening to Susto, the podcast of ooky, spooky, scary stories, and I am still garbage. I love how last time I was like, oh, the Christmas break is coming up. I'm going to have so much free time. Like, I'm going to record so much content for you all. Don't even worry about it. And then I disappeared on you for like a month. Super sorry about that. The holidays were way more busy than I expected. We had family in from out of town and they always had food with them. So of course I had to be there. But no, my holidays were super, super amazing. Like, I'm sorry, but I do not regret taking all of that time off because I got to just spend time with family and friends that were in town that I don't get to see all the time. And yeah, I hope your holidays were also super great. Yeah, and this semester just started. I'm ready to get my hot girl semester on. So super excited for that. Loving my classes already. It's only been like a week, but I'm already on top of it. And so I was like, you know what? If I'm on top of my classes, I can be on top of my other responsibilities. So here I am. You know what? Maybe I think I just perform better under pressure, because I think I was better at making sure that the podcast was coming out when I had like 100 things going on versus when there was like not much going on. And even though I was busy with family, I was like, there's nothing happening. I'm just gonna, so I don't know, maybe having a bunch of stuff happening on around me will keep me more focused than if not. I don't know if that's making sense. Hopefully someone out there gets it, but yeah. So I do have a submission for this week's episode. Someone sent me an email about the Marfa lights and I'm going to go ahead and read that to you. Now, this is going to be, I try and do this. I've had this email in my inbox since like pretty soon after the last episode came out. So I've been trying to avoid it and not read it because I want to give you all like the freshest reaction that I can to this. So yeah, before we do that really quick, as always, Patreon is still up. Thank you so much to those of you who have already become patrons. You can do so by going to patreon.com/Susto podcast. And you can support this show in that way by donating any amount of money you want once a month. So that can be as low as $1. That can be as much as you want. It is completely up to you. And what I'm going to do also, I know that I was selling these Susto stickers, but anyone who signs up to become a patron, you will automatically get a Susto sticker with your membership. So just a little perk for you to think about. Again, patreon.com/Susto podcast. And as always, you can send your stories to me any way that you can contact me, which is on Instagram, Facebook, or email. That's sustopodcast or sustopodcast@gmail.com. I'm going to get into this letter here. It says, "Hi Aiden. Hi Aurelio. Here is my Marfa Lights experience I messaged you about. In January 2014, I had packed all of my belongings into my small car and was headed up to Salt Lake City to start a new life in Utah. I had planned on leaving Raymondville, my hometown, a lot earlier, but that didn't work out, so I ended up leaving around 3 p.m. My plan was to spend the night with a friend in El Paso before driving on." Okay, that's like a 12-hour drive though. So if you left at 3, then you would have gotten there at like 3 a.m. I'm already spooky. Driving at night, already scary. I'm here for it. So he says, "As you know, it's about an 11-hour drive from the valley to El Paso, and this was my first long road trip on my own, so I was stopping a lot, and I ended up driving through Marfa around 1 a.m. Good for you for doing that drive your first time in one go, because that drive is really hard. I've done it before. I was on the phone with my then friend, now my wife. Oh, congratulations. And as I was talking to her, I started noticing out of the corner of my eyes some white lights, can be described as orbs, on the right side of the car. I panicked momentarily, thinking that there was a car getting really close to my car. However, at this time, I hadn't seen cars for a while. As well, this was a stretch on the road that only headed towards El Paso, and to the side of me was desert terrain. My phone then started cutting in and out, and the audio became very warbled. Perhaps I was losing signal, or perhaps the Marfa lights were causing this to happen. I put the phone down, and I started to speed up, but the lights sped up with me as well. There were about 3 lights on the left side of the car, and about a handful more on the right side of the car. I would describe them as bright, white light orbs about 2 feet in diameter, with some of them a bit smaller than that. As I said, the lights would react to how I would drive, either speed up or slow down. They would also go up and down and zigzag while floating. They stayed near my car for about 10 minutes. My heart was racing and my palms were sweaty. I wasn't sure what was going to happen to me. They left as suddenly as they appeared. I know the Marfa lights are a real phenomenon. I don't think they were car headlights, as I didn't see cars even after the lights had left. I felt panic and a sense of dread. I don't wish this experience on anyone. I as well didn't know about the Marfa lights until I got to my friend's home and told him what I saw." That is ooky spooky. And first of all, thank you, Aurelio, so much for sending this email. I can't it's already nerve-wracking enough to do one of those long road trips, especially like if you're not from Texas, you have no idea how hard it is to drive to go out of town anywhere, because there's like for hours at a time, there's just stretches of like nothing. You might, if you're lucky, come across an occasional like rest stop with a restroom. But other than that, there's just like, you're in the middle of nowhere. Texas is so big. And especially if you're doing a drive like this at night, it's just so creepy because you don't know what's out there. You know, if something happens to your car and you're stuck, I would hate that. I would be so scared. So I can't imagine having these lights follow you. Like, it's not even like road rage, you know, it's not even like people just being weird on the road. It's these random lights that you can't explain where they're coming from. So I'm glad that you survived that. I'm glad that you made it to your friends in El Paso, and I'm glad that you were able to share that story with us. So yeah, again, thank you so much for this story. If you all have stories that you want to share like this one, it was a great example of a story. You know where to send those. I won't repeat it again, but make sure that you do follow those social media pages so that you can keep up to date with the show. So as you can see, today we are talking about the Devil's Bridge. And I always say this, but I always mean it. I love these stories. I have so much fun looking them up. I have so much fun like piecing them together from different sources. But yeah, this one was actually all from one website. They had a super like comprehensive information about this story, and it's ghostcitytours.com/San Antonio. Anyway, I'm not going to take more of your time. We'll go ahead and jump right into the story. There are so many Devil's Bridges around the world that it should be categorized as a phenomenon. While the lore behind each individual bridge may vary, they all share that one crucial common theme, that somehow, some way, the devil was involved in its creation. It's been said that after nightfall, the darkness that surrounds the bridge is so dense that if you shine a light, it will not penetrate more than a few feet out. So, be careful if you actually decide to drive over the bridge at night. The Devil's Bridge is located near the San Juan Mission in the 2400 block of Ashley Road in San Antonio, Texas. True evil is believed to lurk on this bridge at night. You may even smell sulfur or rotten eggs, which is usually a sign that something demonic is lingering around, waiting. It is also said that if you dare to step up to the foot of the bridge and throw a rock, you'll never hear it land. It's almost as if someone, or something, catches the rock, or possibly the rock disappears altogether. People who have visited the bridge after the sun has set have successfully collected eerie EVPs, or electronic voice phenomenon, just before becoming overwhelmed by the truly ominous presence that haunts the bridge. The Devil's Bridge in San Antonio may not be a modern marvel, but it is cloaked in mystery. The bridge runs over a ravine that is so deep that if you toss a rock off of it, you will never hear it drop. It is said that the bridge has not only been visited by the devil, but is haunted by other supernatural forces as well. According to one source, back in the early 1970s, when he was a teenager, he used to explore the area around the bridge. One day, he found pieces of pottery and square nails. He then showed the items to his priest at the San Juan Church. The priest informed him that Native Americans used to live near the river and would travel to that specific part to retrieve water. The priest then warned him to be careful, because in the past, he himself had seen ghosts walking the grounds around the area where the Native Americans would camp out. One man claims the story behind the Devil's Bridge on Ashley Road goes back to the Spanish Inquisition. He says, "There was a pastor, and all of his parishioners were killed in the Inquisition. He blamed himself and hung himself from a tree near the bridge. Some have reported hearing the sounds of a creaking rope in nearby trees, and the creaking actually sounds like a swinging noose." A ghost hunter named Joe went out to the bridge one night a few years ago. He allegedly recorded an EVP saying, "I'm here." He also captured another recording of a different voice. Joe had asked the spirit, "Who are you?" The voice responded, "Melvin." Joe was unable to find any records of a Melvin, but he believes that Melvin may have died in the area many years ago before the official records were kept on file. Perhaps Melvin was the pastor who hung himself. One grisly rumored haunting at this bridge involves a headless lady who likes to sneak up behind people at night. This account may actually stem from the headless nun who haunts San Antonio's Cristo Santa Rosa Hospital. However, there was a tragic incident that did occur on the bridge. It happened around 12 a.m. of March 7th in the year of 1965. A 41-year-old woman was fatally injured when the car she was riding in crashed into the Devil's Bridge. She was pronounced dead on arrival at Baptist Memorial Hospital at 12:30 a.m. Her name was Victoria Ann Broussard. Her husband, Al R. Broussard, who went unharmed in the crash, was the one driving the car. The patrolman that arrived on the scene quoted Mr. Broussard as saying, "He did not see the bridge. The right front section of his car crashed head-on with the edge of the bridge's guardrail." Mrs. Broussard was buried the following Tuesday in San Fernando Cemetery No. 2. She was survived by her husband, son Al Broussard Jr., and 4 sisters, all from San Antonio. Does Victoria's spirit haunt the Devil's Bridge? A death this tragic, one can only assume so. Regardless of whether or not her soul is still trapped on the bridge, this story serves as a reminder of the danger that the Devil's Bridge holds, especially at night. On one occasion, a man and his girlfriend were driving along the dark Ashley Road when they neared the Devil's Bridge, traveling at a speed of only 35 miles per hour. Just before the bridge, there is a street lamp, and the two claimed they noticed a white, cloudy shape hovering above the street lamp before floating down over the shoulder of the bridge. The man described the white cloud, possibly a spirit, as appearing to be a sideways cylinder shape similar to a football. The man also claimed that there was a strong stench of rotten eggs. "Sulfur, just putrid. We had the windows up and the AC on. I didn't think we could smell something that strong from outside the car." Fearful, they immediately made a U-turn. He then added, "It was about 3 miles before the stench wore off. This was just too bizarre." An older gentleman who grew up on the south side of San Antonio recalls crossing over the Devil's Bridge on East Ashley Road in his youth. He believes firmly that of all the supposedly haunted places in San Antonio, and there are many, none were as creepy as the Devil's Bridge. He tells of a little-known story. Apparently back in the 1980s, the bridge was a major attraction for rebellious teens, and even became a gathering spot for devil worshippers. He claims that underneath the bridge, you could find animal remains that were used as sacrifices for rituals. A group of friends decided to visit the Devil's Bridge one night with a Ouija board. They claimed that they began to hear cats meow and could smell rotten eggs. They also believed that they saw something in the bushes where a kind of screaming started to emanate. The Ouija board then spelled out Murder X. After that, the friends got back in the car and drove off. A couple of other daring friends went to the Devil's Bridge to test the rock legend. They each threw a rock into the water, and not once did they hear a rock make a splashing sound. The legend they grew up hearing is that the water that runs under the bridge is haunted by a girl, and that she is the one who catches the rocks. Some sources claim that the little girl's name is either Matilda or Maddie. Back in 2009, a woman named Sarah went to the Devil's Bridge with 2 of her friends and recounted her visit.
"Whatever it is, it's something very serious. That's no place to be messed around with. I don't know how to describe what I saw, but whatever it was looked straight at me. That's a place you never want to go to. That was my first and last time going to that bridge."
Just about 5 miles south of San Antonio, in Lozoya, there is apparently another Devil's Bridge. This small bridge over the Lozoya Creek is one that you definitely should be afraid of, so do not be fooled by its size. One person was told by his mother, while visiting his great-grandmother as a child, that he should never go near the Lozoya Creek Bridge. She claimed the devil at one time lived there, and another source confirms this legend, stating, "The devil still shows up every so often at the bridge." Another Devil's Bridge story from the early 1960s says, a group of friends had decided it would be fun to have a midnight road trip. Uncertain of where they were going, they traveled down a paved road that was lined with houses only to its left. When they passed the last of the houses, they found the road was no longer paved, but they continued down the dirt road under the moonlit sky. After a while, they could see something ahead. It was an extremely old and weathered wooden bridge. It was an especially hot night, so they had the windows rolled down. And as they crossed over the bridge, they could hear creaking noises and what sounded like screams from the past hollering out for help. The group of friends later found out that the bridge they had crossed over that frightful night was known as a Devil's Bridge. Apparently, the old wooden bridge no longer exists, replaced by a modern structure, but that doesn't mean necessarily that the devil and the souls he tortures won't still show up at night. A few years back, at night of course, some friends went looking for another rumored Devil's Bridge. They parked the car near where they were told the bridge was located and walked around for what felt like half an hour. They finally had the bright idea to turn their flashlights on and spotted a rail that blocked a dirt trail. Obviously, they climbed over the rail and continued on with their journey. Then, after about 10 minutes of walking, they found the old bridge. The friends started to feel like they were being watched when they noticed a smoke-like apparition appear before the Devil's Bridge. Freaked out by this encounter, the friends agreed that it was time to leave. If you decide to seek out one of these Devil's Bridges, it is advised that you do so in a group of your closest friends. The stories are numerous, and each account may vary from one to the next, but they all agree. There is something evil that calls the Devil's Bridge home. Okie dokie. That one, again, I feel like I say this all the time. That one was so fun, but it really was. So again, as always, we're going to jump into the context. But before I do that, I'm going to remind you about the Patreon. That's patreon.com/Susto podcast. If you want to help me and support the show, you can do so by making a monthly donation of any amount. That can be as little as $1. That can be however much you want. Anything counts. And again, when you become a patron, you will now be receiving automatically, all my patrons will receive a Susto sticker. I'm also selling those for $3. So if you want one, hit me up, or you can just become a patron and you will get a Susto sticker as part of your membership. So I did my research, my dive into context, and I found a lot of really cool things, of course, as always. And on Wikipedia, I found this page. It's just called Devil's Bridge, and it says Devil's Bridge is a term applied to dozens of ancient bridges found primarily in Europe. Most of these bridges are stone or masonry arch bridges and represent a significant technological achievement in ancient architecture. Due to their unusual design, they were an object of fascination and stories in antiquity and medieval Europe. Yeah, there's a list of all these different. It's a list of bridges that are known as Devil's Bridges all over the world. A lot of them, like it says here, are in Europe. One thing I did notice is that like these pictures, and like it says here in this Wikipedia piece, is that they're like stone or masonry arch bridges. They all have that like arch shape, and I'll post some pictures that you can see on the Instagram and Facebook at Susto Podcast. But the one in San Antonio, it's actually really hard to find a picture of it, but there's videos of it, and it doesn't really look like, from what I can see in like the video clips, it doesn't look like one of those arch bridges. It looks like a more modern structure. So that's interesting. Maybe a bit, San Antonio is just like, there's a lot of history that happened there. Of course, like there's going to be a lot of, I guess, like energy that surrounds the area. But yeah, some places on this list are France, Germany, Italy, Portugal, Slovenia, Spain, Switzerland, United Kingdom, United States, and other countries. And the one that's listed in the United States is actually in Sedona, Arizona. And so all of these places, I guess, have their own stories. There's a few that I pulled up here that I wanted to show you really quick. So this one is in Bulgaria, and it says that it was constructed between 1515 and 1518. So that is super long ago, in the early 16th century, by a builder Dimitar from the nearby village of Nedolino Diavolski. So I'm going to be pronouncing all these wrong. And this is also known in Turkish as Şeytan Küpriya. Anyway, the short part of the story goes that The reason some locals are hesitant to cross at night is rooted in dark lore. One story is that the head builder's wife passed away during construction, so her shadow was encased in the structure, which I've never heard that before. That is like really interesting phrasing. Her shadow was encased in the structure. So I'm guessing her soul was somehow trapped in the bridge. I don't know. I just really like the way they worded that. Another tale has it that the devil's footprint can be found somewhere on the rocks. While this is all folkloric myth, its towering form does make for a somewhat unsettling vista in the darkness. And this one actually does look kind of creepy in these pictures. It's like beautiful, but like also eerie. Another one is from England, Firthsden, England. And this is the Devil's Bridge on Spooky Lane. It says here that along the old Holloway is a hidden bridge known by locals as the Devil's Bridge on Spooky Lane. It's shrouded in urban legends of ghosts and witchcraft curses. One of the ghosts sighted along the old road was a silent, robed monk walking towards a monastery that used to be nearby. Another was a Roman soldier standing to attention guarding the road. Others have reported strange sounds and mysterious red lights coming from the surrounding bushes. Local legend will tell you that this is a place where witchcraft is practiced. Until not too long ago, the walls did have pentagrams and 666s chalked on them. Whether this is the work of the occult or pranksters is not clear. This one it's from Wales, I believe. Yeah, on this website. So those first two, were from atlasobscura.com. This one is called visitmidwales.co.uk, and it's the legend of Devil's Bridge at Devil's Bridge Waterfalls and Nature Trail. So this is actually it's like a full on like attraction. Like there's a phone number for it. Like there's like, you have to pay to get in. And there's a whole little story on here about a little girl like outsmarting the devil at this bridge that I won't read because it's long, but it's also really interesting. It's £3.75 for adults, and it's £2.75 for children ages 5 to 16 if you're interested in visiting. So they're making money off of this lore, so good for them. Use your local lore, I guess, for your community. And I think those are just the only three that I pulled up, but it's really interesting to see how this idea of like the Devil's Bridge spans like all over the world. I'm sure all of these have their own stories, their own folklores that are probably very similar, but they're each unique to their area. Because like I'm also looking at like this Wikipedia list on like for United Kingdom. It's not just one in the United Kingdom. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's like 10 in the United Kingdom. There's 3 in Switzerland. There's 3 in Spain. 2 in Slovenia. There's 1 in Portugal. There's a whole bunch of them in Italy. Like it's interesting, like just how, I guess, how much this legend or this like concept is like repeated or used, I guess, to justify. Because another thing I read on here on the Wikipedia is that I guess people in that time, like when this architecture was just coming about, they just like couldn't understand like how this structure could stand and how it could last. And so they were like, oh no, someone made a deal with the devil to make this thing work. And one of the stories that looks kind of fun from here is that the story or the origin of like the story of Devil's Bridges is that the devil made a deal with the person who built the bridge that the devil would keep the bridge up, but the first person to cross the bridge, their soul would belong to the devil. And so that's like an interesting story, which like thinking of it now, I feel like I have heard that before somewhere. But again, looking at the Wikipedia now, it's on here. And yeah, it was just really interesting. Again, like that's part of why I really started this show, is because I wanted to see like how far these stories that I grew up with, or these stories that maybe we have in our communities, can reach all over the world. So yeah, this is, I mean, a lot of these from what I'm seeing online is the majority of these are in European countries, but there are some here in the United States. Again, Wikipedia only lists the Arizona one. Maybe I will submit the San Antonio one, so it'll be listed in here, and San Antonio will get its credit because there's 2 in San Antonio. But yeah, I also just want to say it reminds me of this story that my father told me growing up. And it's so funny because when he took me to this place, I was like, oh my God, one of my best friends lives here. Like, I'm going to cry. I'm never coming to her house again. But when I was younger, he took me to this one place in Edcouch called El Rincón del Diablo, which translates to the Devil's Corner. And so reading all these stories made me think of that story that he told me, like, you know, these like locations that belong to the devil. But I think that people name them that way because these locations are tied to like such traumatic events that it's like they're just places of evil. evil. So this place, El Rincón del Diablo, the Devil's Corner, was actually it was a stretch of railroad in Edcouch, and that stretch of railroad, it's not in use anymore, but it's behind all these houses in like a really heavily what's the word, it's monte, I guess, like a wooded area. Like there's a bunch of trees and stuff around it now. I think there's a canal back there too. But the story that my dad told me about that location is that there's houses that are like lined up along that stretch of railroad, and the railroad is in the backyard of those houses. And that he said that growing up, he had friends that lived in the area and family that lived in the area that would say that when you would look out at night in the backyard, that if you looked outside and you looked to the railroad, that you could see people standing on the railroad, that you could just see shadows. Oh, I just got chills all over. Oh, that's one of my favorite stories. You could see shadows just standing. Oh, my cat just scared the shit out of me. She just jumped on my lap. Hi, Margaret. Yeah, that you could see shadows standing on this bridge, and that apparently they were the shadows were the souls of the people that died building these railroads in like really poor conditions, and that, you know, they can't pass on because they were treated so poorly building this structure. So it's just, again, that idea of like this place is a place of evil because bad things happened here. It makes me really wonder more about like, I guess, like the deeper history or the deeper folklore of these Devil's Bridges, specifically the one in San Antonio, because of the history of what happened there. So if you're from the Valley and you've never heard that story of El Rincón del Diablo, it is so creepy. I'll see if I can find enough information on it to do like a full episode on that, because that would be really cool. But that's just like the really condensed version that I was told when I was younger. Yeah, that was the story of the Devil's Bridge in San Antonio, and subsequently all the other Devil's Bridges in the world. I mean, you know, that's what they say, right? The devil works hard. As always, if you have your own scary, spooky, creepy, paranormal, supernatural stories, videos, EVPs that you want to share with me and that you would like for me to share on the show, of course, do that by submitting to any of the social medias at Susto Podcast, Facebook and Instagram, or emailing me at Susto Podcast. Please, 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 if you're listening on somewhere like Apple Podcasts that you can leave a review, please leave me a 5-star review. I do keep track of those, and I thank you all for that have left reviews. And that's another way you can leave your story in Apple Podcasts. If you leave a 5-star review and you leave your story in the review, I'll go ahead and read it. And one last time, I will tell you all, stickers are for sale. They're $3 each, but if you become a patron at patreon.com/Susto Podcast, and that's on the Instagram and Facebook, you can find a post about it, and make a monthly donation of whichever amount you want, then you will automatically get a sticker. I will send it to you. So hope you all had fun. I missed you. I'm so sorry that I took basically like a whole month off. But like I said, maybe I'll work better under pressure, and like having school and all these things happening will make me focus again. But yeah, stay tuned and watch where you're walking at night. Bye.